Hi, I'm Nancy Rathbun from Completely Quilted, and today I will be demonstrating month 2 of our Curve It Up block of the month. The second block is a sawtooth star, so I'm going to be demonstrating the techniques you will need to make the curved half square triangle blocks. The first step for cutting these curves is you have a rectangle, okay? And the rectangle needs to be marked. I already have my markings here. But in the pattern, they'll tell you to mark 5 inches up from the left side and then 5 inches down from the right side, okay? And then I don't move the fabric because if you move it, then you're going to be switching it around, okay? So to cut these curves, you want to just look at the opening of the ruler, okay? And that's where you're visually going to be looking, and you put that curve down on that 5-inch marking on one side, and then where the cut opens on the other side, you're going to have the point of the rectangle. So you're going to be cutting this kind of quarter circle shape without having to cut a square and then cut it into quarters and cut a big circle. So this is a really great, efficient way of your fabric, use of your fabric here. Okay, so now I'm going to cut. So you can see here that I've got my point of my rectangle and then the marking that's on the left side, and I'm going to cut this kind of quarter circle shape, okay? Now I'm ready to cut the opposite side. So now I'm going to flip it around. So it's the same thing. I have my marking over here, and I'm going to line up the curve of my circle with that marking, and then the opening with the corner here. And so you'll get 2, and just this is the scrap, right? The other cutting that we're going to do is we have these larger squares that we're going to cut apart on the diagonal from corner to corner. So that's our first step. And then we'll cut these into curves. So I'm just going to stack these two right on top of each other because you can cut more than one layer at a time if you're comfortable with it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a 1/2 inch off of each edge. Okay, so I'm going to line up just a 1/2 inch line on my ruler with the very edge of the point and cut those little triangle dog ears off. Same thing on this side, I'm going to cut a 1/2 inch off. So that gives me blunt edges over here and over here. Alright, so when we cut this half square triangle unit, after we cut our 1/2 inch corners off, we're going to look at the opening on our ruler again, and we're going to line that up with these points here and here on this piece. Okay? So if you look, you can see that that point is right there in the cutout and right here in the cutout. So it's almost, kind of depending on your square, it's almost this vertical 2-inch line, although that doesn't say it in the pattern. And then I'm going to cut that inside out. Just like that. So now these two pieces are going to get sewn together. So we've got a half square triangle curved block. So I'll show you how to piece these together now. Alright, so now we're ready to sew our block together. And when we sew our block together, we're going to position our colored fabric right side up. And our background is white, so there's no right or wrong side here. When we sew, we want to leave a little bit hanging out underneath, about 1/4 inch, okay? So you kind of can see that in the pattern instructions. You can see my curve is lined up right here with the edge of the fabric. I'm going to lower my presser foot onto it. When I stitch this, I'm going to stitch like 2 independent pieces. So I'm not going to pull or tug them. I'm just going to slowly draw my top fabric towards the right and my bottom fabric towards the left. So I want to keep that 1/4 inch seam, and sometimes I have to reposition, lift up my presser foot, because I'm really just looking at about a 1/2 inch in front of the needle at a time. They're all biased edges, so they can really stretch on you very quickly, and you can get puckers and wrinkles. And when you come to the end, it's gonna not match up perfectly, but that's okay. It's going to be squared up to a 4.5 by 4.5 inch square. So when I look at this, I want my 4.5 inch line and my 4.5 inch line to really be on the intersection of the curve. Just like you would want for, say, a regular half square triangle block, when you're squaring this up, you want your points to come together right at the end. So it's no different when you're doing a curved half square triangle block. So I've got my 4.5 here and 4.5 here, and I'm going to make my first cut on these two sides, like that, and then you're going to turn it around, and everything should fit 4.5 on the inside here and here. I'm going to make my other two cuts. So I've got a really nice curved half square triangle block now. So you're going to make 8 of these half square triangle blocks, and then there's some other blocks that we're going to make that are really simple without any curves. So I hope you've enjoyed our demonstration for block 2, the Sawtooth Star. You're going to have 8 of these half square triangle blocks, and I sewed mine together in pairs and pressed the seam open. And then you're going to sew your rows together with your half square triangles, and you're going to sew together your 16 patch. So I hope you enjoy making your curved half square triangle blocks, and stay tuned for next month from the Curve It Up Block of the Month.